Greetings, Earthlings. Today, I'm going to flip the script again by talking about commanders that I'd actually like. So today, I'm going to be talking about 10 commanders that make me want to cuddle kittens. First off, we've got the Gitrog Monster. There's not much bad that I can say about this adorable swamp-dwelling squish mitten. My bias for lands decks is reinforced by the fact that I'm a sucker for special actions and things that can't be interacted with. The idea of being licked by a giant toad is usually enough to make people's skin crawl, but nuh-uh. Lick me up and down like a mosquito-flavored lollipop, because just like kids, when someone pulls out a pack of gum, I will suddenly grow the urge to become your best friend because I want nothing more than to be subjected to something that will lose its flavor after 2 hours. But all the while, it's a welcome distraction to whatever else may be happening. Being buried in land is usually something reserved for people once they've passed on, but you can call me Earthworm Jim because much like Tony Hawk, you can't keep me away from the ramp. If you play this as your commander, I hope someone's kid tells you that they like your hair. Next, we've got Edric, Spymaster of Trest. Most Simic decks have a habit of throwing mutants at you at a rate that makes the X-Men look like Cabbage Patch Kids, but Edward Richard here wants nothing more than to sit back with a plate of caviar and watch everyone else punch each other in the face. Most group hug decks are meant to sit back and benefit everyone in a way that manipulates people into not wanting to kill you, but all Captain Dagger Ears here cares about is everyone getting punched except you. Does it benefit everyone? Yes, from a certain point of view. The joy that this commander draws out of me is enough to make me want to bet on a horse race, because clearly I did something right to be subjected to this glorified fight fixer. If you play this as your commander, I hope your shower is perfectly temperate. Up next, we've got, say it with me, Asmarano Mardica Dice and the Kuldakar. My sheer joy for this deck strictly stems from the fact that I'm such a grammar and linguistics nerd that this 13-syllable poison brewer that I have affectionately named Tina the Tongue Twister can always bring a crooked grin across my face. When you have a commander whose name will take you longer to say than it would to just pass through your turn, I have no choice but to admire the dedication. Sitting across the table from this high school lunch lady makes me feel like I'm walking on a fur rug while getting a faint smell of freshly baked pie, because even though she may be causing everyone pain through that pie being laced with arsenic and depression, I can't help but get giddy while witnessing the sheer carnage that Tina brings to the table. If you play this as your commander, I hope someone tells you that you look good today. Next, we've got Brian Stoutarm. If there's two things that I enjoy in this game, it's throwing shit at my opponents and making sure it hurts like hell. We all know the tale of David versus Goliath, but it's clear that Goliath didn't stay down, and now he's pissed. Boros decks are usually a one-dimensional fest of predictability, but Miss Trunchbull's brother here loves to subvert your expectations by taking what you think is a Voltron creature and throwing it at you at a rate that I can only describe as an oncoming fighter jet. Most people grow irate when being faced with such velocity, but I can't help but feel like I've become the ultimate threat when you're willing to expend resources like creatures to make sure that I suffer a grim demise at the hand of something whose pinky finger is the size of my leg. The joy that Commander Beerarm brings within me at a table is enough to make me consider petting an angry lion, because even though I know my death will be swift, I can say that I did so in an epic fashion. If you play this as your commander, I hope someone pays for your drive-thru order. Up next, we got Thromok the Insatiable. Are you hungry? Do you like big dumb creatures and really complex math? Are you me? Am I you? Where are we? What is reality? Sitting across from this rift worm straight out of Gears of War brings me joy in the fact that whomever wields this beast is either going to flood the board with tokens, dice, or both. Much like someone who peaked in high school, the amount of disgust this Aether Dweller produces is enough that you'll never be able to see the surface of the table again. Gruul decks already love to overload the board, but the joy that this Rectum Wrecker brings within me is enough for me to welcome the sweet release of being flattened by something the size of 200 whales, merged together by an asteroid field, space matter, and gravitational mass. If you play this as your commander, I hope you swish whatever you throw in the garbage. Up next, we've got Sidisi, Brew Tyrant. What's more fun than just outright dumping stuff into your graveyard at the rate of a Canadian snowstorm? Not much, I can tell you that. But making dudes when you do it? Sign me the fuck up. This slithery seductress wants nothing more than to turn trash into literal animated treasure. Playing against this commander, no, not you, makes me excited to see what kind of swamp shenanigans it gets up to. If there's two things I love, it's throwing things in the garbage and watching nature take its course, and this parcel tongue speaking reptilian matriarch satisfies all of those and then some. If you play this as your commander, I hope that pimple clears up. Up next, we've got Gishath's Son's Avatar. My joy for this commander comes from my bias of being buried alive by rampant value and big dumb dinos. High CMC dipshits like this one are already hard enough to cast, and usually, by that point, everyone's reserved their responses. So if you can manage to ramp this shit-stomping monstrosity, you've earned it, so pop off. Seeing this whipped out at a table is like watching your favorite relative step out of the car. It's like being a kid and playing your favorite game for hours on end because you have no adult responsibilities. Ixalan is one of my favorite sets because just like sitting down for dinner at an Indian restaurant, there's so much damn flavor. And some just let you chill while you eat, if you catch my drift. No, seriously, if you've never tried a hookah bar, please do it. If you play this as your commander, I hope you cook your steak just right. Up next, we got Feldon of the Third Path. The Commander edition of Storage Wars mixed with Pet Cemetery. Watching this commander pop off is just so satisfying. Grave Recursion already gets me thicker than a Snicker, but not only does Santa from years past here do it in a way that turns them all into Metaloid zombies, but they're still in the grave to be able to do it again? Consider this commander propaganda, because where the fuck do I sign up? Protect my country? Nah, let me work for Robot Dr. Frankenstein here. The joy that this brings within me is enough to make me want to pop open my copy of GTA San Andreas and reread through my old piece of lined paper with cheats on them. Seeing this type of deck pop off is comparable to pulling a hair out of your nose. It's kind of gross, but you'd be lying if you said it wasn't satisfying once it's all said and done. If you play this as your commander, I hope your pet cuddles with you. Next we got Jazella, Blade of Gold Knight. I mentioned before how I have somewhat of an aversion to most Boros decks, but oh boy, when I tell you the level of dumb that this angelic mistress can get to is only comparable to YouTube apology videos. When I tell you that being under the guise of Captain Marvel here is like planting your head into the softest pillow imaginable, because any damage thrown your way is reduced by half. So you may think you're facing down a pissed off mountain lion, but it had all of its teeth yanked out, so its jaw may still hurt, but being gummed to death by a mountain lion sounds kind of funny. And that's not even mentioning the fact that she can throw that damage back at you so hard that you feel your colon explode. At 7 mana, she's no joke to be able to cast, so just like with Sunny Boy there, if you can cast her, you've earned it. If you play this as your commander, I hope an old lady compliments you. And then finally for this glorious list, we've got Grenzo, Dungeon Warden. This commander is the epitome of one man's toxic sludge is another man's potpourri. Usually scrying things to the bottom of the deck is seen as dumping the worst cards in favor of something better, but the more Gobbo Boy here grows in size like a Megazord, the more you can just scoop shit out from underneath like the last scoop of ice cream straight out of the tub because you're taking a me day, which usually translates to eating junk food and something warm and cozy and watching something that makes you feel emotions. The joy that I get from seeing a deck like this played is only comparable to going to bed on a night where you don't have to work the next morning. Because not only do you have the liberty of just sitting there, but knowing what's to come out of a time frame where other people may not be so fortunate is somewhat satisfying and self-gratifying at the same time. If you play this as your commander, I hope your favorite pair of pants fits you. Alright, just like usual, if you like this, feel free to rap that like button and tap that subscribe button. I'll probably go back to my regular shit-talking ways, but I figured this would be a good change-up. So, without further ado, I bid thee farewell and all the fortune.